Hello, YouTubers, friends, compatriots, boomers, just like stars, peasants, vassals, Syrians, jihadists, weapons of mass destruction. I'm a useful idiot. Today I want to talk about the supposed chemical weapons attack in Syria. And I know this is old news. It's 2 days ago. And this is a pretty interesting event because obviously it could turn into a lot more. And that's what I want to get into. So let's talk about the event itself first. So we have 86 injured and 25 killed in Aleppo in northern Syria. And of course there's been a lot of action there for quite some time. And so now we have a theory that a rocket containing chemicals was fired there and caused these deaths, mostly Syrian soldiers. So now we have a situation where, of course, the Syrian regime and Assad are blaming the rebels for using chemical weapons, and the opposition are blaming the Assad government of using the chemical weapons. And the thing that's interesting about this, first of all, is that if the government used chemical weapons, then the U.S. is going to justify intervening. If the militants used chemical weapons, then the U.S. will use it to justify intervening. So in any case, the results are the same. And it doesn't really make much sense for the Assad government to use chemical weapons because they know implicitly that this could result in a U.S. intervention, or at least more of an intervention than we have now. And the opposition has a lot to gain by using them and bringing U.S. intervention, direct intervention in Syria. So they have a lot to gain, so they could be using them. And the sources say, and this is where it gets interesting, sources have already saying on the ground that the wounds and results of these chemicals in Aleppo do not match up with the known weapons of mass destruction and gases and chemicals that the Syrians have. So there's one little flaw in this story. And the other part that I want to bring up, and this is where it gets the most interesting, is this is a classic false flag type of event. So if this event does lead to intervention, then it could turn out to be a classic false flag event. Because first of all, they've made it clear, the U.S. has made it clear that there would be a military intervention because there's a red line that would be crossed. And incidentally, even 4 days before this event, the U.S. reiterated that that would be a red line. So interesting that the event would take place right after another warning, and then Obama actually visiting Israel. So, so my theory is, of course, is that this could easily be a third party, and that is the likely scenario, because the U.S. doesn't want these chemical biological weapons to be in the hands of rebels, and they also do not want these chemical and biological weapons to be used by the Assad government. So that leads me to believe that perhaps both scenarios are right, that Assad and the opposition had nothing to do with it. It's a third party. So that way this event can be controlled. Wouldn't be that hard to get a Scud missile, would it? We've got plenty of them over in Iraq. And it wouldn't be that hard to get some chemical or biological weapon that is relatively mild. And this attack has proven to be relatively mild in the standards of what could have happened. And so there's my theory. A third party's involved. We have a very limited damage, kind of a nebulous results. So we'll see what happens. This will be an interesting story to watch, just to see if this is used to escalate from here. So we might see some dramatic headlines, or this story might die off quickly. So let's see what happens, because if this does turn out to be having big headlines, then this could be your classic false flag event. I'm a useful idiot. Don't you be one too.